Gibbo Hill, mate. Bloody banger. Get ready, fuck it.
Yo, G-I-B-B-O, that's the moniker, man's on a mission. Got a weird walk like a pigeon on commission through the council estate. He's moving with pace, got a crew of old geezers right on his case. Switching up outfits, quick like a flick. 1 minute he's a Bobby next to geezer with a stick. He's dodging and weaving through the market store mess. He's got a big grin and a cheeky little vest. It's Gibbo, mate, I'm on my Benny Hill now. Chasing everybody through the whole damn town. With a ding-ding sample, yeah, you know the drill. The whole manor's running from Gibbo Hill. He's on your tail, can't get away. He'll chase you till the end of the day. See him skanking through the high street with a purpose, yeah, tripping over curbs, but he just doesn't care. He's got a whole posse, a flash mob of fools breaking all the rules. He's a milkman, a butcher, a postie on a spree. He's a man of 100 faces, can't you see? 1 minute he's a flirting with the ladies in the park. Next he's running from a vicar in the dark. It's Gibbo, mate, I'm on my Benny Hill now. Chasing everybody through the whole damn town. With a ding-ding sample, yeah, you know the drill. The whole manor's running from Gibbo Hill. He's on your tail, can't get away. He'll chase you till the end of the day. Now watch him pull a trick, a right proper stunt. He'll swap his suitcase for a rubber duck punch. He'll slip on a banana, then get up to salute. Still a traffic cone and wear it as a boot. He's hiding in a phone booth, but his bum's sticking out. He's got a water pistol making everyone shout. He's painting a fake door on a brick, will you see? Then he'll run right through it, faster than a flame. It's Gibbo, mate, I'm on my Benny Hill now. Chasing everybody through the whole damn town. With a ding-ding sample, yeah, you know the drill. The whole manor's running from Gibbo Hill. He's on your tail, can't get away. He'll chase you till the end of the day. Yeah, Gibbo Hill, the dawn of the chase.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Right, today we've got a bit of a different line. So, Jody Kilgore's family have agreed to come on, but I wanted to give you a little bit about the case beforehand, as well as introduce you to the family, because they actually have their own podcast. So they didn't have to agree to come on. They chose to come on after me probably nagging them. But no, they've agreed to come on, which is great news. And they don't have to. Like I said, they've got their own podcast, and I'm sure it's doing very well. If not, we'll try and elevate them as much as we can. So Jinx is coming in with a smash the like. Yeah, if I don't see broken screens by the end of this live, you don't hit the like hard enough. Aurora coming in, being nosy, as usual. Princess coming in. Yeah, subscribe to Grizz. He made the music for the intro. Now, that's not a permanent intro. It's just something I'm going with while playing about with things. But yeah, if you like your music, he's your man. Yeah, he's the Island Bear. Try and make it. It's me. Say hello, everyone. Shorty Small is here. No, my touch screen's playing up a bit. There we go. Shorty Small's here. Jinx saying hello to Shorty Small. Doodlebug. You're going to need your podcast bloomers today because we're going to be listening to an episode on their podcast. Check out Doodlebug. She has a channel. We're trying to encourage her to go live more, but she's still putting content out there that is valuable for the missing people and their families. Give her. Okay, so I'm going to jump out, jump back in. better. Oh, come on, man. Why is everything playing up? There we go. Flora Angels. That doesn't normally come up like that. Why is it doing that? Okay. Well, took itself off. No sound. So is the audio better or not? Aurora, you're normally like, you've answered this about 20 times normally by now. Now you can't be bothered. I don't know. Audio good. Thank you, Jinx. Okay, so this is share screen. I don't know what's going on. Is everyone else having internet issue? I couldn't even play a song earlier. I was trying to play a song and I couldn't get it to play. So we know I can't pronounce this county. We know because it's the same county as Ian Rogers. You remember Ian Rogers had that day where he wanted to. There we go. So Jody Kilgore case still open. Wakulla County Sheriff Jared Miller said in an interview this week that his office is still pursuing leads into Jody Kilgore murder case. Kilgore was found murdered at his home on October 6, 2014. Miller said that when he came into the office in 2016, he brought in a new investigative team and started from scratch. Miller hired Major Chuck Whaley as head of criminal investigations for the WCSO. He said detectives re-interviewed every single person, re-followed every single lead, treating it like it was a brand new case. My ultimate multitasking, trying to keep chat safe. Okay. My ultimate goal is to put someone in jail convicted of murder and give closure to the Kilgore family, Miller said. I am passionate about solving this murder. He added that he hired a private crime lab, to examine some DNA evidence, something more sophisticated than what the state FDLE crime lab could do. And Miller said he was hopeful that those lab results could break the case open. Results could come back in weeks. He said the unsolved murder was a campaign issue among candidates. And one candidate, Bill Poole, a retired detective with the Wakulla Sheriff's Office, had been hired by the Kilgore family as a private investigator. Poole took his findings to the state attorney Willie Meggs, who reportedly refused to prosecute without more evidence. PJ's here. Please harass PJ in the chat. So that's what we've got for that. We've got some articles here to go over. They're not the best of articles according to the family, but I'm going to go over them just because I don't just want it to be, because we are going to listen to a podcast in a second. It's only, when it does this, it's only a 20-minute thing, but I thought play that. It introduces you to these guys, as well as we can share their podcast out while it's playing, if it plays. So, a decade without justice, the unsolved murder of Jody Kilgore. On October 6th, 2014, Kilgore was murdered outside his home on Spring Court in Crawford. Okay, so we've got a bullet points here. A decade without justice, unsolved murder, Jody Kilgore. On October, more than a decade has passed, but people responsible for his death remain unidentified, and his family remains heartbroken. Watch this to. Nothing's happening.
Over 10. The murderer has still not been discovered.
I just wish that there was something that I could, before anything. I hope I can find out more stuff.
I'm Kenzie Krieger in Crawfordville, and not a day goes by where his 14, Jody, was murdered outside of his home on Spring Court. Later, authorities are still looking for the killer. Back in October, I met with Jody's family. They were honoring him on the anniversary of his death. Fast forward to now, they still have not received the closure they've been hoping for.
Seems like it's in a corner somewhere and nobody's doing any work on it to me. I don't know. I beg them every time I go out there. Please let me know.
Okay, so the article, as we already know, isn't doing it for us. I'm just going to read it. So, of Jody Kilgore on October 6, 2014, Jody Kilgore was murdered outside his home on Spring. More than a decade has passed, but the person responsible for his death remains unidentified, and his family remains heartbroken. I just wish there was something I could do before something happens to me, said Jody's mother, Gladsey Kilgore. I hope I can find out some more stuff. Not a day goes by that life is should be still living. When I visit back in October for the anniversary of his death, they were honouring his memory, still hoping for closure they never received. It seems like it's poked in a corner somewhere and nobody doing any work, Gladsey said. I beg them every time I go out there, please let me know something. Gladsey Kilmore describes her son as kind and gentle, a man who enjoyed fishing and spent time with his mother regularly. I still beg and cry, she said, because Jody was not a bad person. Captain Brett Surrance of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office confirmed the case is still open. There has been hundreds of man hours put into this. Surrance said, we utilise the state from federal and private labs, hundreds of interviews. It's still ongoing investigation. We're really looking for public's help on this. Jody's sister, Robin Stevens, believes someone in the community holds the key to solving this case. The biggest thing is not knowing, is just knowing that it could be somebody we know. She said it could be somebody that we may see, we see maybe on a daily basis, or every now and then someone that has no heart. Death is raw, even for his family. I'll wake up in the middle of the night thinking I'm going to see Jody tomorrow, Gladsy said. Then I remember Jody is no longer is there no more. That's one thing that hurts me more than anything. The Kilgore family says they won't stop searching for the truth. If you have any information that could help investigators, please contact Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. And then there's no number, but we do have the number. Yeah. So share this tab instead. Let Facebook catch up. Okay, well, I'll come over to you guys and talk to the chat while we wait for Facebook to catch up. So, Jill Moser, sorry. What is going on? So, yeah, oh God. So it's gone completely. Okay. Hi, Karen. Okay, it's just moving on me. Nothing I can do about this. Karen, any news on Flora case? No, there's no news on the Flora case. If there was, I'm sure Jinx would force me to hit live. I do believe everyone did. Okay. That's as far as this one goes. Right. Facebook still hasn't loaded. Why hasn't Facebook loaded? Yeah, stop sharing that screen. See if it'll do it this way. So I have a Facebook to share with you. And why is that on screen? If I'm going to be paying for this, I don't expect all these little glitches. And then we'll go over to Jody's. Why is he doing this? I've just shared Facebook. There it is. Why is he not? Okay, so it's just not. Karen, I haven't got time for questions today. No, I mean, I've just told you his age, but I didn't create a post. So what's that doing? So this is, and it's not loading again. Facebook group for the podcasters / family members. They created a podcast first to cover Jody, and then they moved on to covering other local cases and things like that. They have 382 members. They also have their own website. Now, the website is where you can listen to the podcast. So I will be getting you that at the end of the live. So as you can see, this is the group. So let me go to the top. I've got no idea if this is going to play. So I don't know why it's doing this. Hello, Ruckus. Hello, Ruckus. Ruckus, hey. Ruckus is the one who rocks. We'll just knock that off then. That was wrong. Share. This is their Facebook group. Yeah, that's that. It's just not doing anything. So there's the Facebook group for you for them. Now, if you want to learn a bit more about the case, let me just... Okay. So this is actually a page, not a group, but it's still, you know, this is where you go if you want to get information. You can message them, follow, and search. It's not going to let me share this, is it? But as you can see, there's my live. You got photos over here that you can go through. Unfound podcast. That was on the Unfound. Now these are husband and wife are coming on. I believe it's Jody's cousin. They'll be coming on to speak on behalf of the family. This is the group. No. This is really doing my head in. It's got to be this way. Invite friends. No, I can't. Let's try this. Control C. Control V. So it's not, like I said, it's not a group. It's a page rather than a group. So okay. Right, we're going to try now getting into the podcast. So this is a case summary of the murder of Jody Kilgore. Now, before Aurora starts shouting and sending me stupid messages, I know it's not on the screen. Oh, follow. Okay, that's ruined it for me. Yeah, see? Always has to mess with things. So, back. We can't follow. Not yet. So I'm gonna, without further ado, share episode 1. As soon as I see it on screen. There we go.
On Monday, October 6th, 2014, George Kilgore, referred to as Jody by friends and family, was supposed to work a small job with his former business partner, Joe Gregory, known as Toby. That morning, Jody's wife, Susan Kilgore, left their home in Crawfordville, Florida, to teach at the local preschool. According to sources, Toby Gregory was supposed to pick Jody up so they could travel to the worksite together, because at the time, Jody did not have a driver's license. Toby lived just around the corner from Jody. Multiple sources reported that no one else was at the Kilgore residence that morning. According to news reports, at 10:21 a.m., a phone call was made to 911. This call was made by Toby Gregory from the Kilgore residence. At 10:36 a.m., the coroner declared Jody Kilgore deceased at the scene of his residence. This is a very tight timeline, indicating that the event had likely occurred sometime between 7 and 7:30, when reports state that Mrs. Kilgore left for work, and the 911 call was made by Mr. Gregory at 10:21 a.m. Family members of Mr. Kilgore were made aware by law enforcement, and they gathered at Mr. Kilgore's mother's house before traveling to the sheriff's office. At that time, according to Mr. Kilgore's family, they were apprised that Jody had been murdered. According to news reports, shortly before 10 a.m., a neighbor reported hearing arguing, but didn't think anything of it until law enforcement arrived on scene. Jody Kilgore was a master electrician and co-owner of Kilgore and Gregory LLC, a local business that had dissolved 2 years before the homicide. He was also known as an avid fisherman and a dedicated family man. Those are the facts as we currently know them, and due to this case being an open and active case, we have not yet been able to gather any additional information from law enforcement. My name is Elisa, and what brings me to this case is my love for true crime. This started for me in the 80s and 90s when 2 big cases came out that were in the public eye. The first case for me that really brought me to true crime was the Menendez case. And if you follow true crime at all, you know that this case is currently in the news in 2025. Right after that was the O.J. Simpson case, and many of us who are in my generation watched that case on TV. We watched the how that case ended and all the things that happened in California as a result of that case. Those are the 2 cases that really brought me to true crime. And then fast forward to about 3 years ago, this new medium called podcasts came out. I'd never heard of a podcast. My sister-in-law said, "You should listen to these podcasts." And so we started listening to podcasts. And of course, with my love of true crime, the first podcast I ever listened to, another one that people in the true crime world really know and love, is Serial. Of course, another case that is very, very well known and currently in the news. A couple of other podcasts that really have stuck with me and I've listened all the way through are Inhuman, a true crime podcast, and my absolute favorite is True Crime Bullshit. So that is what brought me to wanting to do a podcast about true crime. It really is just my love of true crime that started years and years ago and continues to this day.
Yeah, and what was interesting for me is I'd never really followed true crime. And Elisa, whenever we would travel, we'd end up, listening to podcasts. And of course, she would somehow inherently travel us to a location. And then while we're enjoying our time in the outdoors, she like, oh, Israel Keys, buried a body around here. And I was like, great. So this is where we're at. Or, we'd be in, a national park. And so I would hear, hey, oh, by the way, I was listening to National Park After Dark on the way to this park, and then we're finding ourselves on the trail where this giant bear attack happened. And I was like, great, thanks. So now, but over time, what ended up happening was I started to develop a real interest in listening to true crime. And the more and more we got into it, I finally mentioned to Elisa here that I said, do you realize there's a unsolved murder in my family? And so I'm actually related to the Kilgore family. Susan Kilgore is my aunt on, on my dad's side. And, it's one of those things that the more we looked into it, the more interested we got. And we thought maybe even to help out the family, getting more people talking and picking an alternative like podcasting on it to get the message out to more and more people may actually help increase conversations about it. Maybe people who have been unwilling to talk come forward. Even law enforcement themselves have said that they're kind of at a standstill in this case until the public helps. Well, this is our chance to do that. And this is why Lisa and I decided to start putting together this podcast to really kind of dive into this case in a way that was, meaningful, and in a way that kind of, showed the facts, talked about the rumors. We're going to try to involve as many interviews as we can to the people that were directly and somewhat indirectly involved, family members, friends, as much as we can, to put as much information out there in the public as we can. And we're hoping that this helps. We're hoping this solves the case, closes the case that's been, unsolved for so many years. And it being the only unsolved murder in this county. Anyway, so realistically, I have tons of questions. One of the things that comes up, in this, because there's a lot known, but there's a lot not known. And then it's difficult to understand the difference between what's fact, what's rumor, what's just flat out fiction, and where all that comes from. So do we have an established?
So just to remind you, these are the people that are coming on Thursday. So Thursday's live stream will be with husband and wife. As he explained, his cousin. In this one, they're just explaining how they get started and touching in to early days in Jody's murder. I'm going to give you the podcast for you to watch freely. I think they said there were 6 episodes on Jody Kilgore. There's episodes also on Ian Rogers. We know Ian. We had his mum on. There's also other cases that they've covered. And I'm just wondering, after reading something, if they'd be interested in helping some of the families that we've helped. Even if they don't get many views or whatever, it's a new audience for these families to go and plead out to. I'm going to press continue. So,
timeline. Do we know the last time we saw Jody, and then the 911 call? But at this point, we know that he's likely deceased.
It's really difficult to tell, as we mentioned, sort of at the end of the case summary. This is an active case, and so we have not been able to access any police reports, anything like that would give us a tighter timeline, nor do any of the news reports. There have been a handful of reporters who have covered this case, maybe 3 or 4 that we've seen in the local newspapers and the local TV, and every single time they interview someone from law enforcement and they say, this is an active case. We can't release, any information at this time. So everything that we're able to tell from the perspective of timeline, it is from newspapers and the time of the 911 call, which we know to be 10:21 a.m. according to newspaper reports, and the time of death, which was also in a report at 10:36 a.m.
Okay.
As far as when
He was declared dead on site, though.
correct, yes, yeah, it from the time from when the phone call was made at 10:21 to when the coroner declared him dead is 15 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
10:21 to 10:36.
Which, without having crime scene photos that we can review, it's probably safe to say that, there was no question
Right.
when law enforcement got there that it was really more of a formality to declare him that he had passed away.
Right. As far as what we know, the timeline of like an open window for the event to happen,
Mhm.
we know from interviewing family members that his wife, your aunt,
Mhm.
Susie, generally left the house between 7 and 7:30 every morning to go to work. We're not aware that there was anybody else in the home at that time other than her and Jody. And so it seems that somewhere between 7 a.m. to 10:21 or 7:30 a.m. to 10:21 is when the event happened. The one other thing that we were able to discover, again through news reports, is that shortly before 10 a.m., a neighbor said he'd heard arguing. That's in one of the reports.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, that's the only information we have. It's not a busy street. It's not like people are traveling up and down the street all the time. You'll talk a little bit about what the neighborhood looks like.
Yeah, we can talk about that now. I mean, one of the things that stuck out to me is, you know, during the research we were doing, we found several references to this was a cul-de-sac. And so when I think of a cul-de-sac, I think of something that's kind of a round or oval shape, and then you can kind of see everyone's front yards. That's what everyone envisions the traditional cul-de-sac to be. But if you go actually look at the overhead Google map of this area, I think a cul-de-sac is not a great way to describe this area. It's better to describe this area more of a dead end. And they own the house at the end of a dead end road. And it's pretty offset from the other neighbor's house. If you look around, it's pretty heavily wooded. It's not really aligned with other houses. And so it's feasible to assume that it was pretty difficult for neighbors to see the front yard. I mean, without, responding to the arguing. And what's interesting is, do we know a timeline for when that argument was reported?
The neighbor said shortly before 10 a.m., but he didn't really think anything about it, according to the news report, until massive amounts of law enforcement showed up.
Okay. So what makes that even more interesting is, if you want to jump to a conclusion, which I think we're really too early for that right now, you could actually shrink the timeline from 3 to 3.5 hours down to almost 30 minutes.
You could. It's possible.
If you make that assumption, what's the only person we know there was Toby, who did the actual call. Because we believe at this point the house was empty. It was reported that the house was locked, and Jody was waiting to be picked up for this job.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty tight timeline if you believe that's, again, that's all speculation now. That's not confirmed because, again, we don't have access to the law enforcement report. So other than Toby, though, do we know anyone else was at the house, supposed to be at the house, typically at the house? Do we know anything like that?
The Kilgores have 2 sons. What has been reported to us is that one of the sons was either gone for the day or out of town, and that the other son was away. We don't have a lot of information about where either of those adult children were at the time.
Right. And so no one else was at the house. Susie was at work, and we know she was contacted at work by
her sister.
By her sister.
So from what we can currently gather, the Kilgore family all gathered at Jody's mother's house, and from there they went to the sheriff's office. Now, Susie's family is a little different. Her sister Brenda was notified, and then Brenda either went to the school where Susie was teaching or called the school. And that is how Susan was notified.
That seems strange to me. So do we know why Brenda was notified and not Susie? That's a question I haven't thought to ask yet.
Well, and I don't know that we even know that that's accurate. We have not yet had a chance to speak with either Brenda or Susie regarding what they experienced that day.
Right. So yeah, I mean, as you can tell, anyone who's listening right now, you can tell there's not a ton here as far as what's been reported. So one of the approaches that we decided to take with this podcast is to really just start interviewing the various people in the family, and you're going to start hearing that in some of the next episodes. One of the people we've already interviewed is Robin Stevens, and that is Jody's sister. She's been instrumental in keeping the message out there. She organizes vigils, things like that. I'm looking forward to sharing excerpts from her interview because it was extremely forthcoming and very, very heartfelt as far as, really trying to figure out what happened.
So they've just mentioned that they organise vigils and things like that. If you remember when we had Teresa on, Ian's mother, she went to a vigil shortly after she come on our channel. So they actually met up together and did a podcast, not podcast, sorry. They locked in together and did their vigil together to raise more awareness for each other. So again, they do have some episodes on there about Ian Rogers, so please check those out. Junior, as I know, you do a lot of driving, not so much these days, he said, but he says he loves to listen to podcasts. This website might just be the one for you driving. I'll continue playing this. Remember, Thursday, we'll be having them on. It's going to be a pre-recorded, just because of timing and things like that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to pre-record it. Anyone with any questions, we'll have them on at a later date to answer those questions. But if you have any questions that you want asked during the podcast, leave them in a comment under this live stream, and I'll make sure to ask them when they come up. Let's mute that.
We're also expecting to hear from a number of other people, but we'll wait to give those names once they're confirmed for interviews. We're also going to be diving into some of the previous people who've done various investigations from the news side, and getting some information from them. But the direction we're going to take this now is, what is known in the community. One thing that you have to know about this area of Wakulla County, specifically Crawfordville, this is one of those small towns that everyone knows everybody. Even my grandmother, if you ask about my grandmother's name, everyone knows who this person is. In fact, so much so, I'm surprised she's never been the mayor. And so that was one of the things that really stuck out, I think, specifically to me. I'm not sure how you felt about it, but I'm like, somebody knows something. I mean, this is too small of a community. And it's been interesting to hear a lot of these rumors that we'll be sharing in the future, because there's connections to, various, infidelity. There's been references to potentially drugs. There's been references to, well, you name it. I mean, and what's interesting is if you dig in those directions, you can find stuff, but is it relative, or is it relevant, excuse me, or is it not? I mean, is it one of those things that this is the thing that breaks the case, or was this a random crime? And Jody was in the wrong place at the wrong time, having the wrong argument. I mean, hell, that's even one of the rumors, is this was a random case dealing with theft. It was brought up that there was maybe copper theft involved, for something that was on the truck. But, when you dig into that, even that rumor doesn't really have a lot of legs to it.
Can I talk about the rumors for a second? Like in a small town, like you just were discussing, people talk at the Dairy Queen,
That's right.
right? People see each other at, what is that place called? The Huddle House and all these little places, right? What happens now with social media is people start talking about rumors on Facebook. So as we get further into this, we will talk more about some of the things we're uncovering just by doing simple Facebook searches associated with Wakulla County, associated with the sheriff's department. And so this chatter and rumor stuff that normally has to go like from person to person to person, it's literally out there right on Facebook where we can read it and start connecting the dots and start talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, what's, one of the things that we will dive into as well is, and that we found super interesting is, this is unrelated, but we started asking questions and trying to set up interviews and various conversations with people that we know, that we thought, either they knew something or they had a story to share, or they just so they live and interact with the community, and so they hear things. And so um, while we were doing that, um, the news in Tallahassee actually was doing a report of their own, kind of a follow-up report. We're hoping to get more information and what spawned that idea, because it's not associated with what we normally see these reports with, being either his birthday or his death
Yeah.
associated with the vigils. When you normally see these follow-up reports, this one was random. So my question is why?
Yeah. The last time it looks like any TV news report had occurred was 2021. And so, the 10-year anniversary of his passing was last year
Right.
in October. So why now in the spring of 2025 do we have the Tallahassee station coming down and, talking to people and doing a report? Like, not that I'm like, I think it's great,
I think
because
it's
this
great.
is exactly what
Exactly.
we need. But, what spurred that, right? What did they have something? Anyway, we're hoping to talk to that reporter here in the next couple days.
So as far as next steps, I mean, one of the things that we're preparing for is setting up additional interviews. Like I said, mentioned before, we're looking to talk about some of these rumors more publicly to figure out, is there any relationship? Is it just rumor? Is there some fact in there? Who are some of the people that have been most prominent in keeping that word out and hearing from them, and kind of hearing their story? I mean, even me. I mean, one of the stories that I like to share is I was real young when I met Jody the first time, and one of the things that always sticks out to me is, we would be getting together over whatever type of event, some kind of family reunion or just some family event over at Meemaw's house is, what we called her, obviously. But anybody in the South knows what a Meemaw is. People who maybe listen to this in the North or like may go, "What is that?" But I remember the memory I have of Joey, not Joey, I'm sorry, Jody, is, I guess it was Joey and Jody, because they were coming together, to be technical about that. But I remember, the adults would show up and then they would go in the house and they would kind of dump their kids off in the backyard. Well, Jody didn't do that. Jody would show up and he would, you know, throw something down on the ground for Joey to sit on, because Joey was tiny at this point. Um, you know, and he would play with us. He would throw the ball. He would hang out in the backyard. He was interested in making sure he had some time with the kids in the backyard, having fun, whether it was playing tag or, just hanging out. And that's my memory of him. I wish I had more memory of him, because I moved away. And so I don't have much more than that. And I think I was either 9 or 10 during this. Um, but I remember he was one of the adults that took time with us. And I remember him being really nice and friendly and just a great person. And so to have this happen to someone that I, really had in high regard, and it was really, because think about it, I'm 50 years old now. That's, 40 years ago for me. And I remember that. And so that obviously meant it was impactful for me to have that memory so many years later. And I think it's horrible what's happened to him, and I want to help.
So Jinx coming in with the language. I think that's quite highly offensive coming from you, Jinx. Actually, thank you. Yeah. So we now have, like I told you, I said I was lowering the memberships. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow you to do that. So I added a lower tier. It's $2, pounds, whatever your currency is. It's two of them. This was just an introduction into this couple, their podcast. Please check out their podcast between now and Thursday. I'm not asking you to do every one. There's not going to be a quiz on it yet. No, but do check it out. Get as much information as you can on Jody. Like I said, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask this couple, drop them in the comments on this video, and when I interview them, because it'll be early in the morning for them, they're going to do this while prepping for work. So, yeah, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to put them in the comments below, and I will read them out. If you don't, then, well, that's on you. But we will be hopefully having them back on to do a follow-up, not as long or anything like that. But I can tell you, it's this Thursday. Book it in. Doodlebug, get your interview bloomers on. Yeah, finally, officially offended, Gibbo. Yeah, well, I'm offended. So, yeah, that's that really for tonight. Come Thursday, we'll have more. We've got another family coming on. Andrew France. I'm not really sure on the pronunciation on his last name, but we're having them on as well. There will be a video come out between now and having them on. I'm going to try and get it in tomorrow. While I've got you here, when I do videos like this, would you guys prefer it that I do a 15-minute video or a live stream on it? So for a video, put 1 in the chat, and for a live stream, put 2 in the chat, and then we'll start working the content out that way. Again, there are 4 members tiers now. There's the $6.99, the $2.99, and the 2. So continue with the live streams. That's what I'm getting so far. Yeah, there's the 4 tiers now. There's also the lower tier for everybody. Videos are hard to get views. Well, they are, but they actually tend to do quite well. I got 400 views on one. Thank you, Frank. Awesome information. No, thank you, Karen. They are hard to get views on, but Doodle, you have to flood Facebook with them. Unfortunately, because people are a pain in the butt. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there for you. Keep an eye out for Thursday, 222. And okay, well, you do better than me. Well, I don't actually. Your views are quite high. So yeah, I will see you all Thursday, definitely. Maybe tomorrow with Andrew France. You'll have to see his name. An Andrew France case. I've been gathering stuff on him today. I've got a very busy day tomorrow, but I'm going to try and get a video at least out on him. If not, it'll be a live stream at the end of the day. Thank you all for coming, and